Most people think being copied is a compliment. They are wrong. When someone starts repeating your words, adjusting their behavior to match yours, or adopting the way you move through a room, something has already shifted. This is not admiration. This is calibration. This is someone quietly testing where you sit in the social hierarchy. And if you've noticed it happening, it means your presence has already begun to register. Here is the part most people miss. Respect does not arrive first. Influence does. Copying is the early signal that your behavior has started to carry weight. Before people openly acknowledge authority, they look for a model. They watch, they mirror, they adjust. This happens long before they decide what they think of you. Human behavior is not as independent as it feels. We learn by observing who appears to succeed, who seems stable, who moves without needing permission. This is called social learning, but in practice, it feels simpler. People scan their environment for signals of safety, status, and direction. When they detect someone who appears to have those qualities, they begin to align. Alignment rarely looks dramatic. It looks small. A phrase you used last week appears in someone else's vocabulary. A style choice you made becomes visible on someone nearby. A way you handle tension starts showing up in how others respond to pressure. None of this is loud. None of it is announced. It happens quietly because copying is low risk. It allows someone to test proximity to influence without exposing themselves. This is where most people become uncomfortable. You notice the mirroring, you notice the shift, and your mind tries to categorize it. Is this coincidence? Is this flattery? Is this competition? The discomfort comes from not knowing what role you've been placed into. Here is what is actually happening. When someone copies you, they are not trying to become you. They are trying to stand closer to whatever you represent. This is not about personality. This is about position. In every social environment, people are unconsciously mapping who leads, who follows, and who shapes the direction of the group. These maps are not drawn with titles. They are drawn with attention. Attention is the first form of status. When your actions start to attract observation, people begin to use you as a reference point. This is called anchoring. They measure their own behavior against yours. They adjust based on what seems to work for you. They test whether aligning with your style, your tone, or your decisions improves how they are perceived. This is why copying often appears before open respect. Open respect is risky. It exposes intent. It signals allegiance. Copying does not. Copying is safe. It allows someone to move closer to influence without declaring that they are doing so. There is another layer most people don't see. Mimicry is a way to reduce social distance. When someone mirrors you, they are signaling that they see you as part of their reference group. This is not friendship. This is positioning. They are trying to be perceived as closer to the source of impact. This is also why copying can feel unsettling. On a subtle level, your brain recognizes that your role in the environment has changed. You are no longer just another participant. You have become a point of orientation. At this stage, hierarchy begins to shift. Hierarchy is not built by dominance. It is built by repeated influence. When people start adjusting their behavior in response to you, even in small ways, your position has already moved. The group may not say it. They may not even consciously realize it, but the pattern is there. Humans follow what appears to work, not what is loud, not what is announced. What works? This is why influence grows before recognition. People need evidence. They need to see consistency. They need to watch outcomes. Copying is how they run those tests. They adopt a piece of your behavior and observe how the environment responds. If it benefits them, they keep it. If it doesn't, they discard it. You become part of their internal model of how to move through that space. This is also why copying can sometimes turn into quiet resistance later. Not everyone who aligns wants to stay aligned. Some people copy to understand. Some copy to compete. Some copy to eventually replace. The behavior looks the same at the beginning, the intention separates later. This is why reacting emotionally to being copied weakens your position. If you call it out, you reveal that you are tracking it. That tells others that your frame is reactive, not stable. Influence grows best when it appears unbothered by observation. The strongest signal of authority is not control, it is non-need. When you stay consistent, when you don't adjust your behavior to respond to the copying, you maintain the role of reference point. You remain the source, not the echo. There is a psychological principle at work here that most people never learn to use. People respect what does not chase recognition. When your behavior stays grounded, when you don't speed up, slow down, or shift tone to manage how others respond to you, your presence begins to feel anchored. Anchored behavior creates perceived stability. Stability is one of the strongest status signals in any group. It suggests that you are not being moved by the environment. The environment is adjusting around you. This is where imitation turns into influence. At first, people copy to test. Then they copy because it feels safer. Eventually, they stop copying and start deferring. That is when respect becomes visible, not as praise, not as compliments, but as space. People give you more room to speak. They pause before interrupting. They look to you when uncertainty appears. This is not something you demand, it is something that forms. If you want to protect this position, the adjustment is simple, but not easy. Do not escalate. When you notice others adopting your behavior, do not amplify your presence. Do not become more expressive. Do not signal that you've noticed the shift. Over-signaling dominance collapses the quiet authority you've built. It turns influence into performance. Performance invites challenge. Instead, maintain your pace. Keep your decisions consistent. Let your behavior remain predictable in structure, even if it stays flexible in content. This allows others to continue using you as a stable reference. Originality is also not something you defend. It is something you continue. If you start trying to protect your uniqueness, you reveal that it feels fragile. If you simply keep moving forward, you demonstrate that what you do is not a style, it is a process. Styles can be copied. Processes are harder to follow. There is also a subtle discipline here. Do not reward the copying directly. Do not acknowledge it. Do not validate it. Social systems respond to what gets reinforced. If imitation becomes a way to gain your attention, it will multiply. If it remains neutral, it stays as a background signal rather than a strategy. Quiet authority grows in the absence of reaction. This does not mean becoming distant or cold. It means becoming steady. Emotional neutrality in the face of attention is one of the strongest cues of leadership in any environment. It suggests that you are oriented towards something beyond the immediate social exchange. People tend to follow what seems to be going somewhere. This is the final shift most people never notice. When you stop thinking of copying as something being done to you and start seeing it as information about your position, you regain control of the frame. You are no longer wondering what it means. You are observing how the environment is responding to you. At that point, you are no longer inside the pattern. You are watching it. And when you can watch it without needing to change it, your influence becomes stable. Your presence becomes grounded. Respect no longer needs to be earned or requested. It forms around consistency, not assertion. This is where leadership settles, not in being followed, but in being used as a reference without asking to be.